Hey everybody, I'm ZeldaMaster and welcome to a new Breath of the Wild discussion. So before we get started with the video, I want to update you guys on the channel just so you know what's going to happen in the next upcoming days, I guess within the following week, because yeah, essentially I will have to slow things down. Even though I said last week that I want to hopefully resume videos daily, I don't think that will be the case immediately, and the reason why is because if you follow me on Twitter, you might know this, and that is my computer actually broke down. You may say, wait, what? Then how is this? In the background, all three monitors seem to be working fine. This is actually my old computer. What ended up happening is for some reason, my newer computer wouldn't turn on. So I tried messing around, and I tried looking for the issue, and I tried troubleshooting it throughout the whole day, just looking for what the reason is, and I listened to the beeps it would give me. It wasn't one that was even available to figure out the issue, so I ended up giving up and switching back to my old computer. What I did though is I took out the graphics card and all the hard drives from it and put it into my old one, like from the new to the old, so that way it runs slightly better than before. But the issue here is my old computer's audio card doesn't work. Like, I can't play audio through this computer at all. So what I have to do is I have to use a really crappy monitor speaker to like listen to audio, and it makes it really hard to like edit videos because I can't even listen to like the levels of audio and be able to tell, like, from music, like the background audio to my actual commentary, and just overall to see how loud it sounds. Like, I don't know how this audio is going to come out for this video. I have it recording, but I can't actually hear it in good quality. So yeah, it's kind of an issue. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get some sort of converter from like USB to stereo or something to maybe have the computer read it, and that way it can work. But overall, I need to get a new computer. This motherboard is really old. Luckily, I'm just able to get it running. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is if videos are slow in the next upcoming days, this is why I'm dealing with this whole computer nonsense. I don't know why all of this happened, but it has. But yeah, I mean, I'm working my way around it. I got this computer to work, so hopefully we'll still have videos. But just in case, I felt like I should update you guys on all of that. And if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I highly suggest you do. That way you can be updated. I rarely tweet, but when I do tweet, it's about what's going on. So pretty much you'll only be following me to get updates on what's going on with the channel or what I'm going to be doing throughout that day, if in terms of uploading or whatever, if I do tweet it. But in general, I don't really tweet as much as, you know, most other people you might follow who use social media. I'm not really a fan of tweeting unless I feel like it is something maybe necessary to mention, or I don't know. But anyways, now let's get on to the video itself, which is the discussion. This is actually kind of a follow-up to the last video I uploaded about a couple days ago, and it was about theories in general, especially with Breath of the Wild, and how I try to keep my theories more logical and kind of like less serious, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really treat Zelda like an actual like historical event that happened and that we can like backtrace and maybe you know, assume what's gonna happen in the next Zelda game. How I see it is this is a game that's gonna have hopefully new concepts, so hopefully we can't even guess what's coming to it, and whatever doesn't make sense, Nintendo will fill up the plot holes with whatever they want, because it's a fictional game and they can add whatever they want. I know that kind of upset a lot of people, and I don't necessarily always look at it like that. I'm just saying in terms of really, really, really in-depth timelines, because the lore itself, I'm really interested in. And I mean, I even have a series called Zelda Lore, which will hopefully resume really soon. Don't worry for those wondering. But my point is, I am fascinated by the lore, and I love talking about it, and I love the fandom behind it. My point is just, I don't get too specific with it, because in the end, I know it's a game, and that was my whole point. I feel like a couple people might have taken it as in I was just saying, oh, why theorize about a game? But no, I make theories as well, and I have plenty of theories to talk about. I feel like in terms of like story and whatnot, I just don't like to guess too far into it, because I'm just excited for what's to come. I mean, I know the Sheik are in Breath of the Wild, so I know there's going to be a lot to it, but I'm not going to sit and guess, oh, what could happen to the Sheikah? Why are they monks? Why are they this? Why are they that? Because we really don't know why. So, yes, my camera still stops recording randomly. I said I was going to fix that in the last video, but I didn't, so hopefully I'll get that situated. But as I was saying, yeah, so I wasn't necessarily hating on the fact of theorizing. I was more so just saying I'm not gonna go too in depth, but I do like the people who do. You know, there are people out there that I still watch who, you know, really look at Zelda as some sort of like historical event, you could say, and do theorize about it. Like the game designers are looking at it to where they can't, you know, switch the way the game was made, or like, you know, the map has to be exactly the same from previous games, this and that. I feel like, you know, that can kind of slide by for any gamer, but some people think that, you know, it might actually stay the same. And I mean, hopefully it does. Hopefully Nintendo is that canon, but I highly doubt it. And the point of this video is I kind of want to discuss my opinions on the timelines in general. Now, I told you guys how I wanted the timelines to be in the last video. Like, the idea was, you know, for the child timeline to have the Twilight Princess type Link, which is the darker, you know, more themed Link, just the darker themed Link. And then for the adult timeline to have the Toon Link, which is, you know, all the Toon cel-shaded, colorful looking games. And then for the Fallen Link timeline to have the Link to the Past Link, which is, I guess you could say, in between cartoony and then dark, serious tone. I don't know, it's like kind of in between. It reminds me a lot of Ocarina of Time in a sense, and plus all of those games are a lot different looking than the newer ones. Like, none of them are the 3D Zelda games, like the home console ones, to where we can really like look at the game for what it's worth. Because I just feel like, you know, in 3D Zelda games you can really take in the visuals, unlike 2D, because you get a top-down view. So yeah, that was my whole opinion on it. A lot of people got upset because I did say I feel like the Fallen timeline is the most jumbled up one, and definitely the most unorganized. And just overall, I don't really like to theorize about it because I feel like it doesn't make enough sense to be a timeline. And I kind of want to go into that and just give you guys what I think of each timeline, aside from looking at the links. Like, I don't just look at it as just like a visual aspect. Oh, this is that timeline, so it must have that link. That's not necessarily my point. My point was that it would be cool for Nintendo to make a feature like that. But that's pretty much it. So in general, I just kind of want to go over each timeline and just give you guys my opinion. I know a lot of people think I hate the Fallen Link timeline. It's not that I hate it, or, okay, I hate its concept, but I like the games in it. It doesn't mean because I don't like the timeline, I don't like the games in it. No, I mean, it has like the best of games. It has a Link to the Past in it, it has a Link Between Worlds. Triforce Heroes is a pretty decent game. But then it also has Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, which are really old, and I don't hate them, but, you know, they're not my favorites, so yeah. But it has like those games as well as the Oracle games, and it feels like all of those games weren't really given much of a story, and they kind of repeat the same history in a sense. I mean, the Oracle games I would say are a little bit different. Same thing with Link's Awakening. They did take a different turn. When I did mention it, I was more so talking about A Link to the Past, Zelda 1, and you could even say Zelda 2. But my whole point is, I just feel like that timeline is just there because Nintendo didn't know what to do with all of those games in the timeline. I'm obviously not sure if that's the case, but the reason why I don't like the concept of the Fallen Link timeline is because it's called the Fallen Link timeline, and in like Ocarina of Time, we were given two endings, or two outcomes of an ending, which was Link's story, where it follows Link back in time and lets him tell Zelda, prevent Ganon, blah blah blah, childhood timeline created. And then they made where, you know, Zelda stays, or I guess just Zelda's story, where she rewinds time back for Link, stays in Hyrule, and realizes, wait a second, there's no hero, and then it ends up getting flooded, and then Wind Waker happens. So those two make sense, and those two, literally, we've seen them in Ocarina of Time. Like, we haven't seen the Ganon, you know, resurrected or whatever, but we saw Link go back in time, and we know Zelda's still there, that it created a separate timeline. So that makes a lot of sense. What doesn't make sense is the Fallen Link timeline. We never seen in Ocarina of Time Link lose to Ganon. And I'm assuming that's what they're talking about, like Link losing to Ganon. That's the Fallen Link timeline. Ganon, you know, conquers and gets in to the Sacred Realm. I believe that's how, like, you know, A Link to the Past and all of those games come in. And I mean, it makes sense and how that works, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like we never seen it. I feel like that was just kind of made up to add those games, and that's why I never liked the concept of it. Plus, it's the story of Link losing and then a legend continuing after that. It's a pretty sad legend to continue, like a really sad way to start off a timeline where the hero loses. And it doesn't make sense because the hero's meant to win. I just feel like he has to. Don't get me wrong, I would like to see movies, I would like to see games where the hero loses. I don't always want to see the hero win. I feel like that's, you know, the cliche we're used to. But it doesn't make sense in terms of a timeline in Zelda and the hero of time not being a hero, but being a failure of time. So every time I thought of that timeline, it's a sad timeline to really think of. So yeah, and it felt really made up that I could never get down with it, and that's why I don't want any more Zelda games to fall into. I seriously don't. I want the Fallin timeline to be shut, just to be like, okay, so these are Zelda games we couldn't fit. Now we're thinking ahead of time and gonna have them fit in the series. And I know you may say, okay, but Triforce series and A Link Between Worlds were planned for that timeline, and Nintendo's still adding to it. Yes, they are, but I don't know, I don't like it that much. That's just my opinion though. Don't hate me because I don't like it. I still like the games in it, I just don't like the concept of a fallen hero. I feel like the other two timelines make a lot more sense, and it's just something I like to theorize about and would like to see games in it. So as for the child timeline, it's definitely the saddest one, and it fits with the whole darker theme they have going on, and it is by far my favorite timeline because it has Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask in it, which, believe it or not, those are my two favorite Zelda games. Twilight Princess beats Majora's Mask in my books, but Majora's Mask is a close second. I love Majora's Mask as my second favorite game of all time. But yeah, so I wouldn't say just because the games are there, it's my favorite timeline. Just knowing that I'm following the Hero of Time's timeline, because that's pretty much the child timeline is to follow the Hero of Time, and then, you know, he becomes the Hero Shade and all of that, and I don't know, it really works when you really think about it, and it's cool to think about that there's like a forgotten hero in the Zelda timeline that you may meet, and hopefully he appears in Breath of the Wild. Like one of my ideas were to, like, maybe we find the Hero Shade protecting the armor, or maybe even the Twilight Princess hero, or whatever hero, I don't really care, just some sort of hero spirit protecting the hero's clothes in Breath of the Wild, and then you have to fight him to unlock it, because, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of different attire within the game. We've seen clearly through E3 that you can do a lot with Link and just dress him up, so everyone's going to have their own set of armor, their own set of weapons. It's all going to be different, which I'm so excited for. Like, it's so cool that it's going to be like one of those games where everyone's file is extremely unique than the others, because they have their own build, they have their own you know, set path to follow on what they want to do. But yeah, I just think it would be really cool to have the hero's tunic in the game, and for you to get it off of some sort of spirit of the Hero of Time, to see if you're worthy to wear his garb. That's just my whole opinion. But aside, I mean, in general, all I'm trying to say is I do like the child timeline favorite, and I think it works out really well. I just don't like the fact that Four Swords Adventures is in it. I don't know, it's like, with all the older Zelda games, they had good story, but their story was so based around Ganon, and I mean, pretty much every Zelda game is based around Ganon, but it felt so, like, retro. Like, I don't know, it didn't open up as much as, like, Wind Waker did, and because with Wind Waker, with Ocarina of Time, with pretty much every Zelda game, you feel like there's a lot of history to it, but when you play a game like Link's Awakening, it definitely feels like a standalone game. Even the oracles feel like a standalone game. Link to the Past, it just feels like you're repeating history. It didn't really, I don't know, it didn't feel the same. It just felt like a rehash. Same thing with The Link Between Worlds, it's literally the exact same thing. But I still love the games, they're still really fun. Like I said, it's just in terms of timeline and story, I'm not too happy with. But like I said, don't take it as in I hate the game. But moving on to the final timeline, which would be the Adult Link timeline, which has the Wind Waker, you know, Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks, and I think it works really well because Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass is a direct sequel, and then Spirit Tracks is supposed to be 100 years in between when they find New Hyrule and all of that. But it is really cool how that works out as well. And I feel like that timeline also Nintendo thought in. I mean, obviously they had the same Link, or at least they made Spirit Tracks Link look exactly like Phantom Hourglass Link. So they were going on for the same theme. They knew what they were doing in that timeline. So both of the adult and child timelines just feel generally established, because in Twilight Princess you get references of the hero of time that wasn't remembered. So they had in mind, oh, this is going to be the child timeline. Twilight Princess is going to reference stuff like that. Same thing with Wind Waker. They reference, oh, the hero of time went missing, so we flooded Hyrule. So they had that in mind. And then you look at, I mean, I guess you could look at the other Zelda games and then see how like Link didn't succeed in all of that, and you can assume, but we never saw it happen. And that's like I said, that's what bugs me, because we never seen it happen. It's just said that Link loses to Ganon. It never existed as an option in the game. It would have been cool if you died to Ganon for literally the credits to roll and be like, that's your ending. It's not like Zelda saves. Zelda didn't save after the games. And keep bumping my microphone because I can't help but do hand gestures and stuff. I don't know. I just, this is how I talk. Even when I record, if I'm like holding the controller with one hand, I just start like moving my other hand, because I just like to express myself. But now I'm going to tone it down a bit so I stop hitting my microphone. Okay, so the conclusion here is, and yeah, luckily actually it's a good thing the microphone stops, or not the microphone, but the camera stops recording. That way I know that I should be quiet, because yeah, I feel like maybe sometimes I go on for a tangent too long, and here you can see my DS dead right now. Okay, I don't know why I zoomed in like that. I just really like messing around with this camera, even though I still have yet to mess around with it and make sure it doesn't record more than like, or make sure it does record more than 10 minutes at a time. But yeah, the conclusion of this video here is essentially, that's my opinion on the timeline, how I see it. I personally just really like the adult and child, and I hope Nintendo continues to add to those two timelines specifically. And I do hope the Fallen Hero timeline is kind of forgotten, but I enjoy the games of it, and I'm happy we played it, and I'm happy Nintendo released new games for it, is what I mean. Like, we were able to play Triforce Heroes and A Link Between Worlds. They fit really well, and they were amazing games, and I'm really happy we got them. It's just, I feel like with the upcoming Zelda games, hopefully they start focusing more on the other timelines, because the other two don't have nearly as many games as the Fallen Link timeline, but the other two timelines have much more story and are for the home console Zelda games, which are usually fan favorites. At least for me, most of the home console Zelda games are my favorites, just because it's not just because it's in 3D. I mean, I do like 2D Zelda games, and I like the whole top-down view. It's a home console game, so it's like, it's on a bigger console, and it's able to hold more and have more to it. So Nintendo usually goes, above and beyond with those games. Unlike, you could say A Link Between Worlds, where it had a lot of cool, unique characters, but it didn't emphasize on them. Like, all of the sages were there, but then when you compare Ocarina of Time and all of their sages, they all had their own tribe that you could meet, and they all had things to them, like Saria, Darunia, and Ruto. They were really interesting, and they all had a reason to fight and to do what they wanted to do. And then you look at A Link Between Worlds, which carried the same thing. I'll say Gully, Rosso, and forgetting the Zora Queen, I want to say Auron, I believe. Is it Auron? I don't know. I believe it's a Princess Auron or something. But I know Rosso's not a Goron, and I know he's referenced him to a Goron. But he looks like a Goron, and I'm thinking Nintendo's trying to say he's like a Goron man thing. Because I don't know, he breaks boulders, he lives in Death Mountain, it just kind of correlates. I always considered him a Goron. I know he's not, but to me it made sense. But yeah, when you compare those two, similar stuff. It even had like the Chamber of Sages where all the sages were. And yeah, I consider Gully to be similar to Saria, because I mean he's a little kid and whatever. But yeah, when you look at the two, Ocarina of Time's 3 characters that were sages, and then A Link Between Worlds 3 characters, you'll definitely see the difference on how much like story and just in general character were given to the Ocarina of Time. And that game was a lot older too when you think about it. So it's just, I feel like the home consoles, all the games get much more work to them, and it makes sense because Nintendo, I mean, it's just better hardware to work with. So That's why I just kind of want more of them as well, and I'm so excited for Breath of the Wild. I don't really care if Breath of the Wild ends up in the timeline of the Fallen Hero. I just think, I mean, it would make sense because a lot of people keep saying, oh, he wakes up in the Tower of Resurrection. It could be the continuation of the Fallen Hero, which would be cool, and maybe Nintendo wants to add just a lot more to the Fallen Hero, but I'm really hoping they shift and focus on the other two timelines. That's just my opinion. Let me know what your favorite timeline is in the comments. I just really want to make this video because I feel like I was really unclear in the last one with why and what I thought about the timelines, and I feel like I painted the picture that I hate the games in the Fallen timeline. I don't hate them, I love them, I just don't like the timeline concept. But that's just my opinion. What are yours? Let me know in the comments. Like I said, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Anyways, I've been ZeldaMaster. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!